one area that I like to talk about with my clients who are buying a home in New York City is just about the timing of this process. It takes a bit longer relative to other markets here in New York, especially when you're layering in items like the board approval process, awaiting the managing agent to pass along your application. So setting the appropriate time frame from how long your search should take to what it takes to get into contract, what it takes to actually get to closing, I think is super important just to set expectations at the start. So where searching for an apartment goes, I definitely think it's worthwhile to take a minimum of 1 to 2 months to survey and look at a lot of different inventory just to understand the nuances. I know some folks come into the process knowing exactly what neighborhood they want to live in, where I could see that falling at the shorter end of that. For people who are completely unfamiliar with the market, you could pencil out easily 6 months to a year to look through everything, really understand what your goals are, and see how the apartments you're looking at fit into those goals. So I think it depends on that sort of timing. I think it also depends on where you're currently living. Is this a primary home? Are you up against a lease renewal in the coming months? So I'd say if you are one of those folks who's trying to jump from a rental to owning your own apartment, and you have a lease renewal coming up in 4 months, 5 months, you have to absolutely start getting into the market now if you're going to close on your apartment for purchase before your lease runs out. So thinking about that sort of timing and contextualizing how long the search is going to be up to every single person. I have gone out and shown 1 or 2 apartments, and the purchaser was super keen and wanted to buy it and had some familiarity with the market already. Others I've shown over 100 apartments to, and they ended up either renewing their lease or buying something else. So I think understanding that is super key. And for the timing, from once you're actually in the transaction, once you understand what it is you want to buy, is really what I want to get into. It's from the moment that you see something you like, you need to have all of your materials in order. You submit an offer. That's your REBNY form, your offer form, your pre-approval, and a brief bio about yourself. Okay, negotiating that transaction can take a few days, sometimes a week or two if there's lower demand. From there, a contract will be issued. The way it works in New York State is nothing is binding until you sign that contract and submit what's typically a 10% deposit. So up until that point, that's when all the due diligence comes out. The contract is sent out from one attorney to yours. So while they are reviewing that contract, making red lines, sending it back to the other attorney, they are also going to the managing agent, which is a person who manages the building, and they're finding out answers to their due diligence questions. Okay, there's a custom questionnaire period that goes out. That could be over 100 questions about the building's financials and when the last time the roof was repaired. Have there been any leaks in the apartment? So timing wise, that can stretch at least 4 or 5 business days until the contract is ready and the due diligence is in hand, and you know the ins and outs of everything that go into the apartment that you're purchasing. 4 or 5 business days is normal. This can run up to 2 weeks, I've seen, and it's really going to depend on how much demand is behind you in negotiating for this apartment. Late in 2022 right now, I would expect you can probably fall closer into that 2-week period for this due diligence, so that just because I anticipate that there's lower demand on a lot of apartments, but that's very much case by case. So once you have that contract signed, you submit your 10% deposit. Now you need to get ready for the board package, which can take a couple of weeks. Okay, by the time you get your package approved for co-ops, you could be looking from contract signing to closing around 90 days if you're financing, 100 days sometimes. If you're not financing and you're not waiting for the lender to do an appraisal of your unit, that can be as short as 60 days. On a condo, it's typically faster by about 30 days because you don't have to wait for a board interview. And the timing there, if it's an all cash purchase, is about 30 days from contract signing and about 60 days if you're financing. So co-ops do close about 30 days faster than condos, with that financing or non-financing component being the same. So there's just some sense around the timing. And if you have any questions around that, feel free to reach out. My info is below. And thank you for watching.